All right, everyone. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. It's halftime in Happy Valley. Penn State leads Ohio State 13-7. I was the idiot who said there would be 57 points scored in this game, and had a number of people tell me that I was insane, that it would be, I heard 52-42 and 52-48 and all sorts of crazy numbers, which, of course, we've got two prolific offenses. They could each score 25 or 30 points in the second half. I don't see it happening. This game does not surprise me at all. So what we've seen in this game is that the Ohio State offensive line has been pretty anemic. They should have committed to the running game more. The running game's been decent when they've tried to run. Ohio State's been able to run the ball a little bit when committed to the run. Dwayne Haskins cannot throw on the run. He cannot throw when disrupted. Now, most quarterbacks are bothered by that. It's often funny when you hear commentators talk about that quarterback doesn't throw as well when he's on the run or when he's pressured. Give me the quarterback who likes to be pressured. So Dwayne Haskins not playing that well, but really it's the Ohio State offensive line. This is the group that's not playing well, is the Ohio State offensive line. The Penn State defense is playing lights out for the most part, although they have been helped out by an Ohio State receiving core that needs to step up. For the Buckeyes to contend for a national championship and win the Big Ten, the wide receiver core has underperformed for years. And in particular, this group. This is a group of players that decided to come back, even though three of them had fairly high draft grades. They decided to come back because they wanted to win a championship. So you've got a lot of seniors and fifth-year seniors among Austin Mack, KJ Hill, Terry McLaurin, Johnny Dixon. You also have, who am I forgetting? Paris Campbell. These guys are dropping passes. They are doing what they've done their entire careers, and that's make the simple catches, the easy catches, and run after the catch. They're fast players. They have the body build that look good in the uniform, but they don't make the difficult catches. Sometimes they drop the easy passes too. Austin Mack looked awful against TCU in the first half. And here in the first half against Penn State, we've seen an Ohio State receiving core drop a number of passes. Paris Campbell, KJ Hill had a drop a little bit later. I marked these down. A couple other people with the dropped passes. Anyway, it doesn't matter. A number of drop passes for Ohio State. The offensive line not playing well for Ohio State. The running backs, when given a little bit of room, and I thought it was an exceptional play by the right defensive tackle for Penn State on a play in which KJ Dobbins would have had the right corner for a huge gain, but he totally threw the left guard for the Buckeyes into the backfield, disrupted the play. It took Dobbins a couple strides to get around, and he reached around his blocker, and the Penn State defensive line dragged him down. So Haskins not playing well, but also not given much time to throw. The Ohio State wide receivers not playing well. Dobbins, Weber doing what they can for the most part, so I don't see an issue with the running backs. The running backs are fine. They're the best part of the offense. Haskins would be next. He's okay. All right, on the Penn State side, they came out and they surprised me with the 4th and 2 because that was right around the 40-yard line that they converted the 4th and 2, but then had to punt later. So they converted that. Tommy Stevens, they took him out of the offense later, but for the first couple drives, Tommy Stevens got a number of carries and really was impressive in taking on Ohio State linebackers and bowling them over. So Penn State people, you got to feel good about your offensive line opening up, running lanes for McSorley. McSorley had the one exceptional run, obviously, in which he went left, everything shifted left. Tough Borland went left, and then he just saw the wide opening and the green grass to the right, and he took off for 51 yards. But other than that, in the second quarter, the Ohio State defense has kind of taken hold. They gave up a few big plays. Of course, Jawan Johnson had that ridiculous catch. The kid's a freak, great player. Most of the time, they did note the drops. The drop that he had across the middle most likely would not have converted the first down. And I think that was just prior to the KJ Hamler play anyway, or it was the previous series possibly, but it was down in Penn State's end, and Juwan Johnson hit a bit of a drop there, although the pass wasn't the best from McSorley. So McSorley's played pretty much his game. He's missed on a few throws, but nothing erratic. He's made a few difficult throws in which he's been flushed out of the pocket. He's been on the run. He's thrown sidearm. He's thrown the ball all over the place, as he typically does, kind of Matthew Stafford style without the arm talent. And he's made some really difficult throws. And his wide receivers have been kind of caught off guard by some of these throws, and they've dropped them, even though they've been delivered. So Trace McSorley, he's exceptional. He's fine. He did get away with a few passes that were almost picked off, as Dwayne Haskins did as well. Of course, the one pass that was picked off by Haskins, again, it was Barry across the middle that should have caught the ball. Haskins delivered it well. Ball would have hit him right in the forehead. He tipped it up in the air. Garrett Taylor picked it off for Penn State. That led to a Penn State field goal. Of course, Penn State, I believe they missed the one field goal. They've hit the other two with the freshman coming through, 6-0. And, of course, the play of the first half, the highlight play of the first half in terms of just watching a freak athlete was, of course, the Juwan Johnson, Odell Beckham Jr. play on the sideline against really good coverage. But KJ Hamler, slant, delivered on time, delivered perfectly. I know that it was said during the broadcast that the throw was low, but it was above the knees. It was at the hips. He barely had to reach for it. It was there. It was a beautiful throw. And man, he did not break stride. He just jetted through that defense. You're talking three really fast Ohio State defenders, and Sean Wade, I believe Kendall Sheffield was one of them. Don't remember exactly the secondary players for Ohio State, but they all have near elite speed, and KJ Hamler just split them. Gone. So that was the play of the first half, obviously, because at that point, the Ohio State offense was doing nothing, but if they could have gained the field position, as it appeared as though the defense had created after the great Chrisman punt down to the 4-yard line, then they had him at 3rd and 5, and McSorley throwing out of his own end zone, that if Ohio State stops them there at 6-0, they get the ball at midfield, especially with the Penn State punting being as bad as it was. The Buckeyes get the ball, let's say, at midfield, and then they take it in from there, possibly. But Hamler flips the field, puts on 7 points, and really gets the stadium rocking. Now, if Penn State could have held on to the ball the next series and not gifted Ohio State, I don't want to say a touchdown, because it wasn't like they left it on the ground and Ohio State got a quick scoop and score. They did have to drive it about 25 or 30 yards, but still, obviously, a break for the Buckeyes with Tough Borland. And that was a forced fumble. Tough Borland shot through the gap and laid the right arm right on the football, knocked it loose. Draymond Jones recovers, and the Buckeyes, despite all their problems on offense and the defense not playing well the first few series of the game and giving up those field goals, and then the one big play, the defense played pretty well. I know that they've given up like 180 yards in total offense, or maybe 200 yards in total offense, but the defense is fine for the Buckeyes. The big McSorley run, the Hamler play aside, they played well on defense. It's only 13-7, but the gifted touchdown or field position, J.K. Dobbins slips out of the backfield, catches the pass, and does his thing for the touchdown. So it's 13-7. So the Buckeyes have played poorly. They're only down 6. Penn State has played extremely well. I would say Penn State has played in B+ to A- first half, and Ohio State's played about a D+ to C- total first half. The offense has played a D- first half because they only took advantage of the one opportunity. Is the only bright spot for Ohio State was converting with a field position at the 30. All right, I'm going to check out to see what you guys have. I don't think there's anything else that I had on the Buckeyes first half. Obviously, Stanford and Notre Dame, I've only seen a few plays of the game. I've got that DVR'd. That game just as important in many respects, with 2 undefeated football teams ranked in the top 10. Stanford, Notre Dame, will be all over that one as well. I'm going to have post-game on Ohio State, Penn State. We are going to talk Kentucky South Carolina. The Wildcats lead right now. The last score I saw was 24-3. That's a huge game in the SEC East. Would set up a matchup with Kentucky taking on Georgia later if Kentucky's able to get through this stretch of difficult games. And my prediction's looking pretty good at this point. I'm 8-3 against the spread. I had Penn State, check that, 9-3. Hopefully you guys listen to my predictions. I'm having a good week. I've had some rough weeks, but overall it's been a good season thus far. Florida +7, and I said Florida wins the game. Took Penn State +4, plus the win. I took Virginia Tech plus the 4.5. Plus I said Virginia Tech's going to win the game outright, as I selected 5 teams as straight-up underdogs winning outright. And Virginia Tech, last I saw, 24-7. I've caught some of that game. Their backup quarterback, Willis, has had a nice first half, throwing for about 200 yards passing. I'm going to check out the live stream or the live chat and see what you guys have. And see if you guys have any questions. We have the phone lines open as well, although I don't know that we're going to be able to hear you since I don't have the mic going. If you'd like to call, might be a little bit difficult because I don't have the mic over here. 860-325-3687. And there are too many good football games on tonight. That's all there is to it. I wanted to watch Ohio State, Penn State at the same time as Stanford and Notre Dame, and then Ole Miss and LSU kicking off at 9. I was finishing up I had on the second screen, I was really intrigued by, for some reason, Mississippi State, Dan Mullen's return to Starkville taking on Florida. I picked Florida to win, as I just mentioned. Plus, of course, I'll take the 7 points, but Florida hangs on and wins. And even though we talked about this morning in terms of what brand of football, what type of football games you enjoy, I enjoyed watching Mississippi State and Florida. That was my second game on my laptop here, and it was a 13-6 game. 13-6? 13-6 Florida win. And I thought it wasn't a well-played game, but I thought it was an intriguing game. All right. Green Man, Ohio State is looking like, okay, yeah, the offensive line looks bad. It's mostly offensive. I think it's offensive line number 1. It's a tie number 2 between Haskins and wide receivers. Haskins, they need to work on him throwing the ball, moving, not necessarily running like sprinting out of the pocket, but moving and then resetting his feet or at least throwing off platform. That apparently needs to be worked on. Haskins did throw his arm talent and show his arm talent on a throw that didn't make a whole lot of difference in the game because it was 2nd and 10. He completed it for 8. They didn't get the first down in the next play. But he had a rush right in his lap, and he had nothing to go on, and he just flicked the ball sidearm and threw a perfect pass, probably threw it 25 yards to the sideline on the money to Paris Campbell, I believe. But that kind of got lost in everything, but it was a great throw. All right. A lot of you people, maybe some people on here I haven't seen before. All right. NCIS Fanatic 21. Why are we so unprepared for big games? I just wish we would come out and dominate a top 10 team like Alabama would. Okay. Ohio State against really good opponents, top 10 to 15 opponents. Okay, they beat Penn State last year. They beat Michigan State last year. They beat Wisconsin last year. They lost to Oklahoma last year. Those are the big opponents that they played. We'll even take Michigan out of it, even though I think from a talent perspective that Michigan was a top 10 team last year. In terms of talent, they didn't prove it on the field. They lost 5 games. I get it. So we'll take Michigan out of it. NCIS Fanatic 21, I understand your point. You want Ohio State to win all the big games, and they've lost some critical games since 2014-15. Michigan State, Clemson. I'll throw out Iowa because you're not talking about preparing for marginal teams. You're talking about preparing for the top teams. Well, I would say last year they went 3 out of 4 against and throw USC into the mix. 4-1, NCIS Fanatic 21, 4-1 against top 10 teams. Michigan State was borderline. They were like number 12. But they routed Michigan State. They beat Penn State. They beat Wisconsin in the championship game, and it wasn't as close as the score would indicate, and they dominated USC. They lost to Oklahoma by 2 scores. That's pretty good against top 10 teams last year. The season before, yes, they got routed by Clemson in the playoff. They lost to the one game against Penn State, which was a big game, as it turned out, but Penn State was not ranked at the time. So if you're still sticking to top 10 games, top 10 teams that they're playing, Ohio State in 2016, they beat Wisconsin on the road. They beat Michigan when they were number 3 in the country. They beat Oklahoma on the road as a top 10 team. Again, 3-1. So that's 3-1, and that's 4-1. That's 7-2 the last 2 years against top 10 teams. All right, what time does UTEP play? Look that up for us so we can wipe out our schedules and clear it for UTEP. NCIS Fanatic 21, we win a ton of those big games, but I just want us to dominate teams from the first quarter to the fourth quarter. Win the game. Win the game. Let's not expect to dominate everyone. I don't know that Georgia dominated Oklahoma en route to the championship. I don't know that Alabama or Clemson dominated the other in the college football championship game, but they still won the national championship. NCIS Fanatic 21, maybe the expectations need to be lower just a bit. You should be happy based on how Penn State played in the first half and how the Buckeyes played in the first half just to get a win in this game. All right. Clemson alum, good to see you. Scott, however you pronounce your first name, is that James? Notre Dame is on the move. Notre Dame's on the move. They were up 21-14 at the break. I did pick Stanford with the points, 5.5. I did take Notre Dame to win the game. William Lee, yes, the Ohio State sweatshirt. We don't know if we'll ever see that again. Let's fire Urban Meyer. Yeah, 77-8. Fire the guy. Kentucky needs to come up with their own brand of moonshine called Dark Horse. So after the game, we'll talk Ohio State, Penn State as they're getting ready to kick off the second half. Stanford, Notre Dame, we won't forget about that one as well. I won't have a whole lot of analysis because I will only have seen parts of it, small parts of it. Ole Miss, LSU could be in some trouble tonight, possibly. They are a 10 or 11-point favorite in that game, but what does that mean these days? We're looking at more upsets, slight upsets, but upsets today. In Kentucky, of course, in a big game against South Carolina, as we talked about. We'll talk all those games after this one tonight. We'll let you guys get back to the game. I'll see if there's anything else that we need to hit on. Kentucky's a big surprise. How was Lawrence? I don't know. I actually picked Kentucky to win, as did I. Clemson, inning update on Trevor Lawrence. Rick, not so bad after all. Mark, why are we so unprepared for big games? Are we comparing Mark Richt and Urban Meyer? 21-14 Notre Dame. Kentucky's up 24-3. Not seeing anything else that I need to address here. Hey, if anybody's joining the chat for the first time, maybe Jason Hughes. Not seen you guys before. Not seen Jason on here before. So certainly, welcome to Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, as we open the second half. The Buckeyes with the ball as they gain a first down out past the 40-yard line. Don't be shocked if we see a different Ohio State offense in the second half. Don't be shocked. Brad Silverdog, good to see you as well on the live stream. We do this each and every Saturday. We're here every day talking college football. We invite you to join, like, comment, and subscribe. Send your email to the newsletter at Mark Rogers TV as well. All right, Buckeyes throwing the swing passes on the left and right side. They get 9 on that one. They're out to midfield. All right, I will see you guys after the game. Buckeyes, Nittany Lions. Irish Cardinal, and the rest of the college football night coming up.